weeks ago, I told people that Nick Fuentes was a fraud. I mean, I thought it was kind of obvious at this point, but you know. Now I hope people see what I mean. Now, this is someone who calls himself a Christian, right? Says that he's Christian, he's religious, and we need to do this and we need to do that in a Christian way. Nick Fuentes is getting roasted right now on social media because he is literally trying to defend Jeffrey Epstein. And he's doing it in a sneaky little way, you know? Check this out. This is the first clip. Oh boy.
This whole pedo thing, it's like, is it really pedophilia? I don't want to be the one that has to say it, but I guess I'm being forced to say it. It's not really pedophilia, okay?
What does he mean when he says he's being forced to say it? You know, like I called Megyn Kelly out for this. I'm calling him out for this. Anyone out for this, right? So again, this is the guy who says that he's this big Christian. This is the guy that said, I don't know how many times, that porn was bad. Remember this? And yet here he is trying to do it in a sneaky little underhanded way to defend Jeffrey Epstein. Now, he's not going to say that. He's not going to say, I'm defending Jeffrey Epstein. He tries to do it in a little more of a subtle kind of way. Sneaky.
They weren't trafficking 5-year-olds. It was like they were technically not legal. Big difference, in my opinion. I know that's a controversial take, but that's not really the issue there.
It was reported that Jeffrey Epstein's youngest victim was 12. I'm sorry, like I'm standing by this and I'm not changing my mind about this. And I don't know why someone who says that they're a Christian is even trying to argue about this at this point and trying to hold this line. As I have told you before, someone who is 15, 16, these people do not have a brain that is fully developed at that point. And it's really sad that you have, first it was Megyn Kelly, Alan Dershowitz, who was also trying to argue years ago to lower the age of consent. And now you have Nick Fuentes, again, someone who claims he's so Christian and said that pornography is really bad for people, is now trying to make the case for the people that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked. That's exactly what he's doing. Now, of course, he gets away with this by saying things like, I was just joking. I was just kidding around. People take things too literally. That is how sneaky Nick Fuentes is. He's more like a shock jock. He reminds me of Howard Stern, how Howard Stern was in the 90s. He tries to say the most shocking thing possible because it gets a lot of attention. And even if that means that he goes back on previous statements, he doesn't really care, because that's not the goal. The goal is not to have principles and to hold on to them. The goal is to shock people as much as possible, increase the audience as much as possible by that shock, and keep getting that attention and keep making money that way. That's the goal. So I said weeks ago that Nick Fuentes was a fraud. He doesn't really stand for anything. Yeah, you have even some of the biggest podcasters, everybody trying to bring this guy onto their show and kiss his ass. Piers Morgan was the only one that I saw that actually went toe to toe with him. And that means a lot coming from me, because I don't think Piers Morgan is great. So hopefully more people are waking up and seeing this for what it really is.
Okay. The issue is not that they were barely legal teens, which is what it is. It's horrendous. It's awful. It's pedophilia. Okay, relax. No, the issue is that Epstein is a Jewish spy, probably working with Israel.
The issue is both. So this is the little bit of the sneakiness that Nick Fuentes does. Both of these things are a problem, but he's trying to downplay the trafficking part and just focus on the Israel issue. The same guy who sat up there and told his followers that pornography was bad, women are bad, women are evil, don't date women, stay single, stay solo. I'm telling you guys right now, okay? If you take time away from listening to this clown and you get out there and you socialize with people normally, like a lot of people do who don't listen to this motherfucker, you'll find yourself a girlfriend. You'll find yourself a girlfriend that you actually have something in common with, that you, who knows, might even get along with. And who knows, God forbid the relationship works out and you end up getting married. And maybe you even decide to have a family. Who knows? Don't you think it's kind of strange that this guy who says he's so Christian and he's so for procreation ain't got no damn body? Don't you think it's kind of weird that this guy has no girlfriend, no love life, no love interest, told Piers Morgan that he never got laid? This is not someone that you should take relationship or sex advice from. What he is doing is he's holding you back from your life. He's stopping you from building the life that you could have because you're following him. And now here he is trying to make the case for Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking. Absolutely disgusting.
That's the dilemma there. He's working with Israeli intelligence.
So again, that is not the only issue. It's one of them. Two things can be true at the same time. There can be more than one issue with Jeffrey Epstein. Now he's mad because people called him out about this video. So now he goes on to this other, rage thing here.
Satanic pedophilia, cult stuff. It is really run-of-the-mill prostitution and sex trafficking, but for a international political purpose. And it's important not to lose sight of that. I saw Marjorie Greene say this is about female victims. It's actually not about female victims. It's about the integrity of our government. You understand the difference? It's not to say we're not sympathetic. It's not to say that it's not criminal. It's not to say that it's good. I'm not defending it. I'm saying,
no, you were defending it, and you did it in a sneaky way. So you see, this guy is fooling a lot of people. I'm not defending it. This is why he had to come back out and he had to make another video because of the shit that he said before. It's not about the women. It is about the women. It's about a lot of different things. It's not about just one thing. But what was interesting is that Nick Fuentes wanted to downplay that. Do you know what that does when you tell a group of people, well, it's not really better because, the girls weren't like 5. You are sending off a message to someone's brain who may be just starting to have their brain develop in such a way. And maybe they don't have the type of guidance that they should have from parents or from teachers at this point in time. And that goes to their mind and they pick up on that. Somebody somewhere heard that and they picked up on that. Oh, okay, so it's actually not that bad because they weren't 5. That's a problem. So we don't do that over here. We don't do it here. And now he's angry because people called him out about it. This is the Christian. I told you guys. A complete fraud.
Saying this is not Dateline. This is not a human interest story. This is a layered crime. It's one crime in the furtherance of a much more politically significant crime. But all these dumbasses, they literally just don't have the IQ to understand that. For them, it's just about screeching about the same nonsense every day. They don't.
And now if you point out something that he doesn't point out, if you're not a part of his cult, you're a dumbass. And this is the type of energy that Nick Fuentes has built. He has built a cult. It's a cult mentality. He's got all these people in line to follow him, and they just sit there and they just wait for his every word. So if you guys didn't pick up on that shit that he said, that's a fucking dog whistle. He was basically sending the whistle out there to let you know that if they're not like 5 or 6, you know, no biggie.
Don't understand what they're talking about. They have no idea about anything. They hear something they don't like. They say, oh, he's with Israel now. He got paid. I'm sorry. I've been doing this way longer than you. When did you come on the scene? When did you get red pilled? Last year? 10 minutes ago? When did you?
Yeah, you've been doing this way longer than a lot of other people. And somehow you still get away with a lot of shit. Now, people will say, oh, well, he's been deplatformed and etc. Yeah. He's been deplatformed. A lot of people have been deplatformed. But there are people going harder after. We just had Scott Ritter was just on recently. There are people going harder after Scott Ritter than going after Nick Fuentes. Anybody don't see that for what it is? This is why people call him a Fed. You guys know damn well a lot of the things that he says, and I agree he has a right to say it because I support free speech, but a lot of the things that he says, people have said way less and they don't get away with it. So how does he continue to do that?
You start talking about this stuff. Oh, now you're the expert and the gatekeeper. I'm done with that shit. I'm out. Seriously. You don't have to unfollow me because I'm out.
Yeah, he's always out. And this is another trick that he does. I'm out. I'm done with that. I'm out. Done. You ain't got to follow me. I think there's a little bit more there because he gets into the commentators as well.
This whole movement of Gen X idiots that are obsessed with satanic pedophile elite and psycho conspiracy kookery that doesn't even make sense, this Candace Owens bullshit, I'm out of all that. Seriously. I'm done with it. That is never what this movement was about. I started this movement at Boston University, and it was for right-wing American patriots that are against all foreign influence, whether from Israel, from mass immigration. I'm not some Gen X burnout that found a grift, which is bitching about Jews without even learning anything about the subject I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's crashing, dude. You crashing, right? Because see, I want to show you something else. Then he has a tendency to go back on like what he says. You know, he says all this stuff about foreign wars and focusing on America, but then he backpedaled on Venezuela.
I actually probably favor regime change in Venezuela, to be honest. I think that that is a perfectly legitimate strategic goal of the United States. You know, we talk all the time about Israel and the war over there, and those are wars that don't benefit the United States. I actually think it would be beneficial if we had a pro-American regime in Venezuela. Probably would be good for us because of the resources they have.
That was him switching up his talk about Venezuela. Now, all of a sudden, pro-regime change when he said that he wasn't. I don't understand how people don't get this. I don't understand how people don't realize this guy is a fucking fraud. And it's okay to admit that you got played. How we all been played at some point or another. But ask yourself this question. How does this guy get so much attention saying a lot of the things that he's saying, and you have people saying less than him and they've been blackballed? You want to talk about a Nick? My comrade Nick from RBN is blackballed in a lot of places. My comrade Nick hasn't been invited on Piers Morgan's show. You know what I mean? He's saying way less than Nick Fuentes says. When people get invited into certain spaces, sometimes you have to take a step back and you have to ask, wait a minute, why is it that this person, they're saying all these different types of things that you know, people would probably avoid or walk away from. But then there's people saying less than them, but they're blackballed. That's in independent spaces as well. Just FYI. It's not just corporate media, it's also independent media. Then you have him now with Alex Jones. Now all of a sudden, it's okay for him to call for Donald Trump using insurrection. Now all of a sudden he's pro-insurrection after saying that he was against it.
Amazing interview, Nick. What do you predict is going to happen? Because clearly it's Podesta plan, the plan for civil war. They admitted. They're saying kill them, get your guns. They're not real. They're Gestapo. Last night, a bunch of TDA Venezuelans beat up the ICE guy by himself with shovels. He shoots one in the leg to get away. They then rob federal vehicles, steal the list of the employees, steal machine guns, rifles. And it's not even on the news. Tim Walz is like, oh, God, we're under attack. They're knocking door to door to find the brown people. I mean, they're going whole hog. What does Trump need to do? Declare the Insurrection Act?
Yes, declare the Insurrection Act and get the DOJ to charge these people with sedition. If we could...
Whoa. So now all of a sudden he's pro-Insurrection Act. Not the guy who was there on January 6th and then complains and said, no, this was not no insurrection. Now all of a sudden he's for that. So what Nick Fuentes does, he doesn't really stand on any real principle. He says what is the most shocking thing because it's going to get your attention. And then, after that, wears out for a while, then he'll say something else that's really shocking, like, I don't know, completely changing his opinion just to get someone else's attention. And that's how he builds his audience. Back and forth, the back and forth. And if you never question him, if you don't disagree, if you're in a space where you can't question or disagree, that's a fucking cult. So if you don't question him and you just nod your head like a good little boy and you go along with it, you will be taken down with him. That's the reality. So the hypocrisy for me, that's what I have a problem with. And he'll send his little minions out to, when people talk about him, they used to go spam people's chats and say, bring Nick on, and all this kind of stuff. It's a cult. Everyone should be able to think freely. One of the things I think I like about the community that we have here is that people do think freely. We don't all agree on everything. But this guy, it's a fraud. Some say he's a Fed. Don't know. Don't have Fed proof. But I can see why people say that. But it doesn't really stand for anything. And this is what he'll continue to do. He'll just keep saying the most shocking thing to keep you listening and to keep you tuned in. And that's how he stays relevant.
Identify all 1,600 people in the Capitol that got charged with geolocation and bank records and facial recognition. Why can't we do it with every rioter in Minneapolis? Why can't we do it with every person that's chasing ICE in Chicago? You have to go in and crack down hard with federal law, because if you don't, you're emboldening these people. And what's going to happen next is someone is going to go and attack ICE, and it's going to be a mass casualty event. Everybody knows it's coming. Everybody knows that's the next step because it's been building towards that.
So do you see how now he's pro Donald Trump Insurrection Act? Now all of a sudden he's pro them coming and cracking down. But during January 6th, he had a problem with that. So like I said, he just flip-flops. He doesn't stay on real issues. And I don't know, how he's getting paid. I guess he gets like tips and stuff like that. But the reality is, this is who he reminds me of. Not physically, of course. He reminds me of Howard Stern. And for those of us that grew up in the 90s, I mean, some of you guys, you may remember this. This is who he reminds me of. Howard Stern became so famous because he said the most shocking, outlandish, comments during his radio show in the 90s, when that was a time where people just weren't talking like that on the radio show. And so it became this point where people wanted to tune in more and more to see, I wonder what he's going to do on the show this time. And then, of course, the radio show was also televised, so you could see these things as well. People are like, I don't know, is Howard Stern going to bring girls in and like have them show their boobs or whatever? You didn't know what you were going to get. It's kind of the same reason why people used to tune into Jerry Springer back in the day. It's like, you know, who's going to show up on the Jerry Springer stage today? Are they going to try to like beat someone up? Who's going to get a chair thrown at them this time? But then eventually it ran its course. And eventually people was just kind of like got tired of saying, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. It's shock jock culture. Let me say the most shocking, wild thing to get people to tune in. And I think that when it comes to a serious issue like the Epstein issue, yeah, it's about multiple things. It's about Israel. It's about the Mossad, but it's also about women who were abused, children who were abused, and people being trafficked. It's also about that. But he doesn't want to put the focus on that, because then that means that he may actually have to sit up there and say something positive about women. And that's what it really comes down to. He doesn't really want you to try to have any type of empathy for them, because then that kind of ruins his whole stick there, right? This is why people need to use their brain. So it's shock jock culture. That's what it is. And he can change his position at any time. And if his followers don't pick up on this guy is just saying whatever he can to get your attention, and they just keep nodding their head and going along with it, that is a fucking cult. But what I will not do is I will not sit here and let him or Megyn Kelly or anyone else who want to sit up here and try to make the case for them trafficking girls that weren't 5. So it makes you wonder if Nick Fuentes got the call. Because I know that some have. It makes you wonder if it's a money issue. For the love of money. It's his show. He can say what he wants on his show. But this whole idea that you can't call it out is bullshit. So I hope that by watching this segment, I hope more people do not sit here and believe that it is okay if someone's not 5. And this is coming from someone, he's a Christian, right? Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.